What's up, guys? It's Christian Welch with the Fantasy Authority, bringing you another 2021 rookie profile. Today, I've got one of the fastest players in college football, Auburn junior wide receiver Anthony Schwartz. Schwartz, 6 foot, 172, coming out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, one of the best high school programs in the country, American Heritage High School. Same grade, same class, coming out the same year. He was teammates with Patrick Surtain, who's arguably going to be the first defender taken in this year's NFL draft. So, just a tremendous high school program he's a part of. A 4-star wide receiver, number 28 overall player in Florida, 163 overall player nationally, and the number 30 wide receiver in the country. But we can't talk about Schwartz in high school without talking about his track and field prowess. So more so than being a wide receiver, Schwartz is known as a sprinter. He has the state of Florida's high school record for the 100 meter with a 10.15, which I believe I read is 6th best all time in high school. That earned him the 2018 Gatorade National Boys Track and Field Athlete of the Year. So just a very decorated track star in high school is Schwartz. He had offers from almost all the SEC blue blood programs, including Alabama and Florida, but ended up committing to play football at Auburn. So let's go ahead and hop over to his career at Auburn. As a freshman, he had 22 catches for 357 yards and 2 touchdowns, and also had 27 carries for 211 yards and 5 touchdowns. So 7 touchdowns from a guy that, was really looked at as a guy that would have to sit for a little bit and adapt to playing football in the SEC because he's really just a track guy. Pretty impressive freshman year. So I was encouraged by this. One of those 2 touchdowns in the air was a 76-yarder against my Vols. So I've had Schwartz on the radar for a little while now. A sophomore year, he had 41 catches, 440 yards, and just 1 touchdown, and 11 carries for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. Let's hop over to his junior year, which is this past season, 2020. 54 catches, 636 yards, and 3 touchdowns. His first time cracking 20% target share for Auburn. But negative rushing yards. So we watched his usage in the running game go from 27 carries his freshman year to, not a factor at all his junior year. But what encourages me is, outside of that, really the rushing yards make him a gadget player, in my opinion. I want to see how this guy is as a receiver. He's not a 5'7" guy like Rondale Moore. He's 6 foot tall, so this guy could develop into more of a traditional receiver. With that type of speed, I want to see him doing well catching the ball. And 22 catches his freshman year, 41 his sophomore year, up to 54 his junior year. I like seeing that steady progression for a guy like Schwartz. To wrap up his college career, a couple things I want to point out is that his size and speed, he's a guy that you would normally peg as, that's a slot guy for sure. But notably, he played more snaps out wide all 3 years at Auburn than he did in the slot. So pretty unusual for a guy with that kind of speed and, a pretty slight frame playing out wide more so than in the slot. But I thought that was notable, because I feel like most people project Schwartz as a slot going to the league. He was always second fiddle to Seth Williams his whole career at Auburn. They came in the same year. They're leaving the same year. Really a guy that, you're profiling as a number 3 guy at best, really, in the NFL. 28.2% college dominator rating for Schwartz, 24% target share, and then a 20 breakout age. So your analytics guys, there's some, pinpoints for you there. Let's talk about some things that I like about Schwartz. So I can't start talking about what I like about Schwartz without immediately starting with that speed. So the 100 meter that I referred to in high school with that 10.15, he's since lowered it to 10.09, 4.26 at his pro day. But, that 10.09 really makes him an Olympic class sprinter. I expected his pro day to possibly go below 4.2. I thought the 4.26 was a little disappointing, but needless to say, just an absolute burner, one of the fastest players, in this class without a doubt. Number 2 on what I like is his yards after catch ability, so that yak. So he was 11th in the NCAA this year in yak per reception and 2nd in total screen yards. So absolutely, a playmaker if we can get the ball in his hands quick and let him utilize that speed. He's not incredibly shifty. When you're watching film on this guy, he looks like this little guy. His ADOT's pretty low. He's getting the ball in his hands quick. But, man, you see that straight line speed, and there's a little wiggle, not as much as I would like, but, it's not terrible. Maybe there's some potential there, but for me right now, he's just kind of a guy. Number 3 that I like is the big playability that he's flashed. Not that it's consistent. It's truly few and far between, but the big plays that we've seen are so big. Like I said, I brought up that 76-yarder against the Vols his freshman year, and then he even had a 91-yarder against LSU this past year. So the big playability is there. Over to the concerns that I have for him. Number 1 is going to be how limited his skill set is. This is truly a screens or nothing guy. 29 of his 54 catches this past year were screens. That's 54%. Those 29 screens were third most in the NCAA. And if you take those away, 25 catches in 10 games. So, I don't want to say, how efficient he was on screens is a bad thing, but to me, I'm always concerned when people look okay and then you really dive in and it's like, man, it's a screen every time. It's kind of like something we do with running backs. Like, oh, this guy caught passes. He's a good receiving back. Is he actually running routes like Christian McCaffrey, or is he just getting a screen? Schwartz isn't a running back, but for this case, he's just catching a screen the majority of the time that he's catching the ball. And for me, that's a concern transitioning to the NFL. Number two is, despite his long speed being so impressive, he's not efficient on deep passes. So he only had 3 deep catches this past year on 16 targets. That was 167th in the NCAA. Those couple TDs I brought up were impressive, but they are just way too few and far between. And then number 3 for me on concerns is the lack of physicality. So as I mentioned when watching this guy's film, he looks like a little guy. He's skinny, slight frame. That 186 that he weighed was 17th percentile as far as weight goes. Most of his yards after catch, which is good, is before contact, though. Like, that intense speed that he has causes defenders to take bad angles, and that's where he's getting his yards after catch from. That yards after catch is not yards after contact. If he's contacted, he is going down. Even more so than as a ball carrier, having to use his physicality. He can't do it as a receiver either. He only had 1 contested catch all of 2020. So for me, profiling him to the NFL, he is really just a gadget speed guy. As far as the NFL draft goes, I've got him as a day 3 guy. I don't have any particular teams listed as fits because for me, no team is going to make him their wide receiver 1, 2, or 3. This is a guy a team will pick up late in the draft if they want to add a guy to their roster that has a speed in the 4.2s and see if they can make something of it. I'm kind of taking the same approach with my rookie drafts in fantasy. So for me, he's a dart throw in the 4th round of your rookie drafts if you're somebody that loves having intense speed on your roster. We don't know where he's going to land yet, but maybe he can get with a good wide receiver coach to help, round out his game a little bit more. But you can't coach speed, and this guy has more of it than anybody in this class. So maybe he's worth a shot. I'm calling him just a dart throw in the 4th round of your rookie drafts, and really a dart throw for the NFL as well in day 3. That's all I've got for Schwartz today. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fantasy Authority here on YouTube to keep up with all of our content. I know we've got a great live show planned for the NFL Draft, so stay tuned for that. If you want to keep up with me, you can find me on Twitter at EvilEmpireFF. And as always, appreciate y'all's time. I'll see you next time.